Hi, YouTube. This is Mary once again. I'm coming today to bring another presentation about Black women in African American history. Today, I want to talk about Shirley Chisholm, or Chisholm, Shirley Chisholm. She's the first woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. And she's the first Black candidate for a major party's nomination for President of the United States. She was born November 30th, 1924. She passed away January 1st, 2005. She was an American politician, educator, and an author. I got this information off of Wikipedia. And then it says in 2015, Chisholm was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So after she died, she was awarded this medal. We're going to talk a little bit about her. Well, I'm going to read a little bit about her early life and education. Her name was Shirley Anita St. Hill. She was born in Brooklyn, New York, to immigrants' parents from the Caribbean region. She had 3 younger sisters, 2 born within 3 years after Shirley, and Shirley was born 1 year later. Their father, Christopher St. Hill, was born in British Guiana and lived in Barbados for a while, and then arrived in the United States from Cuba. Let's see what else we can find about her. Oh, let me show you a picture of Shirley Chisholm. Because I remember when she ran for president, and I said, wow, maybe she could win the election. But there is a picture of her. And this was her in 1972. Okay, let's see what else does it say. Her father was an unskilled laborer who sometimes worked in a factory that made burlap bags. But when he could not find factory employment, he worked as a baker's helper, while her mother was a skilled seamstress and domestic worker who had trouble working and raising children at the same time. I can imagine it would be hard. As a consequence, in November 1929, as Shirley turned 5, she and her 2 sisters were sent to Barbados on the SS Volcana to live with their maternal grandmother, Emmeline Seal. They arrived on the grandmother's farm in Buxhall Village in Christchurch, where she attended a one-room schoolhouse that took education seriously. She did not return to the United States till May 1934, above the USS Nassau in New York. Probably was a good thing for her. As a result, Shirley spoke with a recognizable West Indian accent throughout her life. In her 1970 autobiography, Unbought and Unbossed, she wrote, "Years later, I would know what an important gift my parents had given me by seeing to it that I had my early education in the strict, traditional British type schools in Barbados. If I speak and I write as easily now, that early education is the main reason." As a result of her time on the island, and regardless of her U.S. birth, Shirley would always consider herself a Barbadian. A Barbadian. Okay, beginning in 1939, Shirley Hill attended girls' high school in the Bedford neighborhood of Brooklyn, a highly regarded integrated school that attracted girls from throughout Brooklyn. At St. Hill earned her Bachelor's of Arts from Brooklyn College in 1946, where she won prizes for her debating skill. She met Conrad O. Chisholm in the late 1940s. He had come to the U.S. from Jamaica in 1946 and would later become a private investigator who specialized in negligence bases in lawsuits. They married in 1949 in a large West Indian style wedding. Shirley Chisholm taught in a nursery school while furthering her education, earning her MA in early education from Teachers College in Columbia University. Okay, let me get a little more information here. I didn't type a lot. It had about 12 pages, but I didn't type it all up. Let's see, from 1953 to 1959, she was director of Friends Day Nursery in Brownsville, Brooklyn, and one of the Hampton Madison Child Care Centers in Lower Manhattan. From 1959 to 1964, she was an educational consultant for the Division of Daycare. She became known as an authority on issues involving early education and child welfare. Okay, let's talk about her time in the state legislature. Sonny, stop. Chisholm was a Democratic member of the New York State Assembly from 1965 to 1968, sitting in the 175th, 176th, and 177th New York State Legislature. Her success in the legislature, including getting unemployment benefit extended to domestic workers. She also sponsored the introduction of a SEEK, S-E-E-K program, Search for Education, Elevation, and Knowledge. That's what that meant, to the state, which provided disadvantaged students the chance to enter college while receiving intensive remedial education. In 1968, she was elected as Democratic National Committeewoman from New York State. Okay, then she went to Congress. She ran in 1968. She ran for the U.S. House of Representatives from New York, and let's see, she won that. And boy, that's a lot of information. I'm not going to read all that. Her slogan for her campaign was "Unbought and Unbossed." In June 1968, Democratic Party Chisholm defeated two other black opponents, State Senator William S. Thompson and Labor official Dolly Robertson. In the general election, she staged an upset victory over James L. Farmer, the former president of the Congress of the Racial Equality, who was running in a liberal party. Wait a minute. We have a little problem going on here. We're gonna see what we can do. Okay, now it says later terms. Chisholm created controversies when she visited rival and ideological opponent George Wallace in the hospital room after his shooting in May 1972 during the 1972 presidential primary campaign. Several years later, when Chisholm worked on a bill to give domestic workers the right to a minimum wage, Wallace helped gain votes of enough Southern congressmen to push the legislation through the House. George Wallace. From 1977 to 1981, during the 95th Congress and the 96th Congress, Chisholm was elected to a position in the White House Democracy Leadership as Secretary of the House of Democratic Caucuses. Chisholm's first marriage ended in divorce in February 1977. Later that year, she married Arthur Hardwick Jr., a former New York State Assemblyman whom Chisholm had known since they both served in that body, who now owned a Buffalo liquor store. Chisholm had no children. Hardwick was subsequently injured in an automobile accident, desiring her to take care of him, and also dissatisfied with the course of liberal politics in the wake of Reagan Revolution. She announced her retirement from Congress. Hardwick died in 1986. After leaving Congress, Chisholm made her home in suburban Williamsville, New York. She resumed her career in education, being named the Puritan chair at the all-women Mount Holyoke College in Massachusetts. As such, she was not a member of any particular department, but would now be able to teach classes in a variety of areas. At Mount Holyoke, she taught politics and sociology from 1983 to 1987. In 1985, she was a visiting scholar at Spelman College. Okay, Chisholm retired in Florida in 1991. In 1993, President Bill Clinton nominated her to be United States Ambassador to Jamaica, but she could not serve due to poor health, and the nomination was withdrawn. The same year, she was inducted into the National Women's Hall of Fame. Chisholm died January 1st, 2005, in Ormond Beach, near Daytona Beach, after suffering several strokes. She was buried in Oakwood Mausoleum at Forest Lawn Cemetery in Buffalo, where the legend inscribed on her vault reads, "Unbowed and unbossed." So she lived a pretty good life, but I didn't know she was from the islands. I wish I guess I could YouTube her and I could hear her speak, because evidently she didn't she didn't lose her accent. So that's Mrs. Shirley Chisholm, Shirley Anita St. Hill. So I'm going to get off, and I'll come later. I can't say when, but surely before the end of the month, with another reading about an African American woman, because there's a lot of them. It's just me finding time to do it. But be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And we'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.